Welcome to At Home with Music. I'm Leon Olguin. We've spent some time looking at and listening to the famous 2-5-1 chord progression. Here's how it sounds in the key of C major, for example. 2, 5, 1. Or in the key of C minor. 2, 5, 1. I'm going to link to the previous videos where I explored this chord progression in more depth, so I encourage you to go back and watch those again if you haven't seen them, or review them if you have watched them. Now, as I promised, I want to briefly show you the 2-5-1 progression in action. So first, I'm going to show you how you can slip it in to a simple song. This is kind of a neat trick that you can use to show off a little bit. Then, I'll show you just a couple of examples out of the countless examples available throughout all kinds of songs. I'll show you a few examples of this progression as used in a song. Now, I've chosen a couple of songs that you could call standards, that is, songs from the Great American Songbook. So, if you're my age or older, you'll recognize these songs. Now, if you're younger and you don't know these songs, you would do well to learn them in their entirety. So let's switch to the overhead camera now and let's explore the 2-5-1 chord progression in action. Let's take a look now at some examples of the 2-5-1 chord progression in action. And we're going to start with a hymn with which most of you, I'm sure, are familiar, that being Amazing Grace. Now, perhaps you've heard it played this way in a very simple manner, using just 3 chords. We're going to play it in the key of G. So here's the plain version. So we're basically using 1 and 5 and 4. Here's the 4 chord, back to 1, staying on 1, and then 5 or 5-7 if you like, 1. Now, let's find some places where we can slip in the 2-5-1 progression. Take a look at this now. This is the fancier version of Amazing Grace. So we start with G, and then we can go right to the 2, and we get kind of a rich sounding chord here because the melody is actually on B. There's A minor 7. It's actually now A minor 9. Now, if you remember when we studied chord substitutions, you can very often substitute the minor 6 for the 1. So let's throw that in here. And then we'll go back to the 2. Now, some versions you may hear them use A7 instead of A minor 7. So this would be the major 2 chord. An altered version of the 2, if you like. And then back on the 5, so 2, 5, and then back to 1. Then we substitute 6 again. That's the old heart and soul progression. Two, 5, 1. So you see we are able to slip that 2-5-1 progression in there several times. And that makes it sound just a little bit more interesting. There's certainly nothing wrong with playing it in a very plain manner. Somebody playing guitar might do it that way, and that is perfectly fine, wonderful for singing along and so on. But if you're playing the keyboard and you want to get a little fancy, you can throw in the 2-5-1 and throw in a couple of chord substitutions. If you don't like the A minor 7, use A7. And so on. Here's another very famous song. You've obviously sung this many, many times, and perhaps you've had it sung at you. We're in the key of F now. So basically we've gone 1, 5, 1, 1, and then to the 4. 1, 5, 1. Kind of hard not to sing along. Okay, that's perfectly fine. If you play Happy Birthday just using 1, 4, 5, you're doing great. However, you can slip in the 2, 5, 1 progression. And here's how you can do it. Start out like you did before. Now watch what we can do here. There's our 2, 5, 1. And then we go to the 4. And then watch what we can do here. There's our 2, 5, 1. I kind of like that because you get this very rich. That's G minor 7. The melody is A. So in reality, you're playing a G minor 9 chord. And then it quickly resolves to G minor 7, C7, F, or 2, 7, or 2, 9 if you like, minor 2, 5, 7, 1. And here's another exceedingly simple tune that you all know, and I've used this as an example in past videos. Little Mary and Her Lamb. This song is so simple that it only has 2 chords when you play it in a simple way. We just have 1 and 5. But there's all kinds of places where we can slip in the 2, 5, 1. Watch what we can do here. When we reach C, we know that C is a note contained within D minor 7, which just happens to be the 2 chord in the key of C. And that leads us directly to G7, and the melody note fits right in there. And so now we have 1, 2, 5, 1. We can even do it again. 2, 5, 1. And you can go back to G or G7 there if you like. And you can even do it here again. We can do a chord substitution. Very often when you go to the minor 6, it leads you to the minor 2, which also leads you to the 5, which leads you back to the 1. And if you notice the way the bass is moving there, you're on A, it goes up to D, it goes up to G, and back to C. Or if you're going the other way, basically, not only are we using the 2, 5, 1 progression, but we're throwing in a little bit of circle of fifths action there as well. Now, just for fun, this works in the minor key too. And rather than trying to find a song in the minor key, let's just change Mary Had a Little Lamb from C major to C minor. So now instead of having a lamb with fleece as white as snow, this is Mary Had a Little Lamb, its fleece was black as soot, and everywhere the lamb did go, his sooty foot he put. So, once again, we're just playing it with 2 chords here. Sounds very mournful, doesn't it? But we can also throw the 2, 5, 1 in minor, in the same places that we did when we were playing it in the major. 2, 5, 1. 2, 5, 1, back to 5, 7. 5, 1, and then we can throw this chord in there just for fun. That is the major 6 chord. 2, 5, 1. So there's just a few examples of how you can slip in the 2-5-1 chord progression into a simple tune. Just a fun little thing that you can do to impress your friends. Now let me show you a couple of standards, very popular songs, and I've mentioned in the introduction that if you are my age, you know these songs, and if you're younger, you should know these songs. These are great classic standards from the Great American Songbook. This first one is called I Get a Kick Out of You, written by Cole Porter. Now, he's an interesting songwriter because he also wrote lyrics and music. It's hard enough to write lyrics, and it's hard enough to write music, but to be able to do both and do them both well, that's pretty exceptional. Anyway, this song is in the key of E flat, the way Cole Porter originally wrote it. Of course, arrangers will change the key to suit the singer, but we're going to stay in E flat. And notice the first chord is F minor 7. That's the 2. It goes 2, 5. In this case, we've got a very fancy chord. So there is 2, 5, 1. And then it kind of turns around to get ready. There's a little bit of circle of fifths action there. Notice we go from G, C, F if we're going down the circle of fifths. Now we're back on 2 again. 2 to 5 and 1. That same turnaround again. 2, 5, and then there's a little passing chord. There's 2 again. 5, 1. So there's a famous standard that is replete with the 2-5-1 chord progression. Here's another one. This song is, I believe, from 1938. It's called Jeepers Creepers, and I'm just going to play like the first 8 bars of it. This is another one. We're in the key of B flat now, and it starts on 2. C minor 7, you've got this D in the melody, which gives it a C minor 9. It's a very rich sound, but it's 2, 5, 1. Now notice here we're playing a B flat major 7. C in the melody gives us B flat major 9. Here's 2, 5, 1. 2, 5, 1. 2, 5, 1. So this song, once again, heavily dependent upon the 2-5-1 chord progression. So these are just 2 examples out of the thousands and thousands of songs that use the 2-5-1 progression. 5-2 rather. 5-1. So now when you listen to songs, any song, you're going to be able to identify that progression. 2, 5, 1, and so on. So I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions or comments, please be sure to leave those in the comment section. I answer every question and respond to every comment. Also, be sure to check out the previous videos that I've done on the 2-5-1 progression. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'll leave those links in the description. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next one.